We not for sale.
We not for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah, dig.
Back again, it's your boy MK with the group in the house. What's up, Westrada?
Westrada is a beautiful J in the neighborhood. What's good? And that's all I'm going to say right now.
I was used to the whole long, if it ain't frozen, it ain't popping. If it ain't hot, it ain't not. You can give me something.
Man. Yeah, I'm going to drop it like it's hot and move on to the right. To my brother, from the same mother. Speak on it. Welcome back.
Hey, it's Jay Cornrow Fitness. Hey, listen, man, y'all in for a treat today, and we gonna definitely keep the ball moving. So let's just get right to it. Pass it to my brother from another mother, but the same color.
You know who it is. It's I'm in the building. I'm here to drop wisdom. I'm here to drop knowledge. I'm also here to be a listener. I love these brothers. It's going to be something educational today for sure, something ignorant today for sure. There's always a contrast with these brothers, so I'm very, very happy and pleased to introduce my brother to the right, Hollywood, in the building.
Hollywood, a.k.a. C. No Collins, man. How you doing, man? We keeping the lip from the Big Apple to the pineapple. I got you, okay? You know what I mean? And to my right...
Big Apple to the from New York to Hawaii.
Yes.
Yeah. To my right. All right. From the Golden State to the Frozen State. How about that, man? Did that work? Okay. All right.
You didn't
Is
start
that
on
Alaska?
that one.
All right. So to my right, I got the Mini Mac lawyer, Jai A. Person Lynn. I'll let him introduce himself.
So by many, he means many accomplishments, many successes.
Damn. He had that one ready.
Many more. But this is the abolitionist, the Lincoln lawyer, Jai Person Lynn, out here trying to abolish slavery and free minds.
Good luck.
But some of us still choose to put chains on our necks. So with that said, I'm going to introduce my brother.
Flip his Jesus piece around. It's facing the wrong way.
Let me
Fix your
put that
Hey, it's shiny today,
light-skinned,
too.
Caucasian-looking, but light-skinned black Jesus.
Too sick to great. Happy to be amongst my brothers. And we have a very, very unique discussion for you guys today. We're going to get right into it with my brother MK.
Man, we got a lot of teasers for the show tonight. We better be extraordinary because y'all done hyped it up.
Yeah. And you can find us at We Not For Sale on IG. You dig that? That's WEKNOTFORCELL.
So look, y'all, I was excited this morning. I woke up. It's Sunday. Football is back.
Are you ready for some
Football back. Football back.
Who still watches football, man?
I do.
West ever.
We not for sale, baby.
I do. I love the game. It's
Good game.
I mean, who don't watch
Hey, do
football?
y'all ever feel like,
Hey, watch anything that brings you joy.
y'all,
Sure.
do y'all feel bad like when you watch football now? Like,
You know,
Right.
I have to say I have...
feel ashamed?
I wouldn't say feel ashamed, but I did kind of take a step back from watching football just when all the cap stuff kind of went down, and seeing the response of the team owners kind of brought me back to that old school slave master mentality. But I mean, I do still watch it every now and again. Playoffs. I'm not really black and white on it. I'm more in the gray area, but I'm not as big of a fan as I once was.
Yeah, I don't think there's a greater analogy for the descendant of American slave experience than the NFL, right? Because it's like our people are getting real money, making real money, having real influence in society by playing this game, but there's still definitely that kind of master-slave dynamic. But when you take that further, that's due to the history. All throughout history, you have employers and employees. It's just the rich white man, black player that brings up those images of slavery in this land.
You know what's crazy? I didn't actually stop watching football because of what Colin and all that. That had its own place, but I actually stopped watching football because of how much damage it was causing to people, getting hit every single play. I just didn't see the sport being around like another 15, 20 years without something changing,
You stop watching boxing too?
I don't even watch that much boxing, to be honest with you.
Could have sworn you and Steph came over the house for a Pacquiao fight.
And I think he was fighting Floyd too, right?
Yeah, man.
And Floyd didn't get hit in that fight.
All right.
Let me tell you guys. Let me tell you guys why I never stopped watching NFL. I when the whole cap thing went down.
We know why you still fly the flag. It was never a question.
Oh yeah, man.
So yeah, I do. Listen,
Yard,
4th of July. Listen to that show. What was that? Episode 3, episode 4. Go back and check it out. I'll tell you why I fly a flag from my house.
That's right.
But the reason I never stopped watching the NFL is because them brothers never stopped playing.
Church.
If it was such a big deal that you want me to not support the NFL, then you not support the NFL. You go on strike. Don't play. Because as long as you're playing, you're telling the owners, it's okay. We're going to work it out. We're going to work through it. So why should I deny myself if they're not going to deny themselves?
I feel
I think some people were just financially they couldn't do it. A lot of NFL players, they for the most part, they mismanage their money. A lot of them. So I mean, financially, if you're living, some of them you'd be surprised. Some of them are living paycheck to paycheck, and some of them are just not making that much money. So to just all of a sudden just give up and just leave, it's kind of hard because it's like, how you gonna pay your bills?
I think that's bullshit, James. I think that
You beat me to it. Go ahead.
We have to look at things, man, from a realistic perspective. And NFL players get paid on a weekly basis. And I think that if you're trying to prove a point, there's millions of ways to do it. If you're trying to create a movement, there's only one way to do it. And I truly believe minimally the 49ers, man, as a team, should have not played a game. Just one game would have cost billions of dollars. In
you look
network
at it from a one game,
I mean that's where it starts. It starts with one game. Everything starts with one thing at a time.
I'm looking at it from when they had the NFL lockout. I can recall numerous of players that I may know personally that was screaming out like, "Fuck!" They can't wait to get back on the field because they need to make some money.
Yeah, but it worked out for them. All those people people that had screamed out they need to make money, they're happy.
How many of them was willing to go play in other leagues, Canadian leagues, and then come? You know what I'm saying? And they all did that. So a lot of people that like I said, a lot of people they just can't afford to do that shit.
I mean, okay.
Well, besides,
they are for sale.
There you go.
I was about to say, so if that's the case, then there's a dollar sign to everything.
For them, you know what I'm saying? If they can't. I mean, how many people, like I was listening to some radio station today, and they said that, this is their perspective, 80% of the American people are living paycheck to paycheck. And I've even heard my cousin tell me one time that that a lot of people are just two paychecks away from being fired.
From being homeless.
Yeah,
right.
2 paychecks away from being homeless. I'm sorry. And
that's my quote, right?
Yeah, that was your quote.
I just want to get it right.
But to go along with that, like NFL players are no different. Like, some of them, they've received a big sum of money. They have 40 cousins come out of nowhere that needs this and need that. They had the situations that they were brought up in caused them to not be able to afford their lifestyle.
I will say that out of all the main sports, NFL players do make the least, but they ball out like as if they make the most.
As if they make the most.
It's the lifestyle of the NFL. It's in your face. It's violent. It's like, let's go right now. Like, you can't hide from nothing in the NFL. You put on that. This is gladiator lifestyle. It's not meant for a long term, whereas baseball and basketball, you do things to preserve. NFL, if you pull up on that hit trying to preserve, it's going to be, it could be a problem for you, and 2, it's going to taint the game.
But back to my original point, if there was no work stoppage, then why should I stop watching?
Right.
If they're not willing to put themselves on the line, then what am I doing?
I just put the NFL in the same category as a WWE.
I think
ever since that damn Tuck rule. That's what I do. So I watch it, but I don't. The Tuck rule with Tom Brady and the Raiders when he fumbled, and they said he was tucking the ball, so he can't fumble. And that wasn't the rule before. It wasn't the rule after. But for that one play, that was
You're
the rule.
talking about the conspiracy of the NFL.
So after that, I was like, it is what it is. I took some of a good part of my heart out of it and just appreciate the game that I love being played at the highest level.
All right, so speaking on the conspiracy of the NFL, let's talk about the conspiracy of AB. Because my man went through it for the last month or so.
Gosh.
Does he still deserve the nickname AB, or should we just call him Antonio Brown?
I mean, he's still a bad brother.
He is a bad brother, and it hurt me that things didn't work out for him in Oakland, man.
Personally,
because I'm personally a Raiders fan, and I was excited.
I know they moving to Vegas, right?
Huh? Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay.
I'm aware. I'm still a fan, though.
Does that hurt you?
Somewhat, but now I'm closer to the games. So, I mean,
Church.
yeah.
So, but the word is that he orchestrated, or the thought is from some camps is that he orchestrated everything since, July, August, whatever, to make his way to get released so that he can be a free agent and ultimately make his way to New England.
I think that's, one of the biggest fables probably ever told. I mean, for a man to have $30 million on the line or orchestrate a release would be absolutely foolery.
Guaranteed.
I mean, so I don't think that's the case. I think that it was a culmination of things that didn't work out. I think that AB probably, he's probably a mixture of someone who's acting out superstar status and someone who probably has a bipolar disorder or a borderline personality disorder.
So you definitely think some mental illness issues are...
Well, I think that what people don't understand is I've seen this before. One of the biggest examples of this behavior happened through another wide receiver that was very good named Brandon Marshall. If you don't know who that is, at the time he was playing for Denver, and he was one of the best wide receivers in the league. And he just couldn't seem to get it right. And, over time, he addressed the fact that he is bipolar, which increased his worth, I think, as far as the NFL in terms of teams understanding how to play someone with him and how to really develop him as a person. And it really enriched his ability to attack the games in a different way. And I think AB is looked at as such a great player. I mean, he is an amazing wide receiver, one of the best in the game now, and arguably, via the numbers, a Hall of Fame guy. But that doesn't excuse his actions in terms of his use of the media, his use of social media, and some of the things he says. And, it kills his credibility, man. And when it kills your credibility as far as your character is concerned, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter what you do on the field.
And, that's why what you just said on why you believe there's some mental health issues is why I totally am against the red flag laws as it relates to firearm, where red flag laws meaning your family and friends can say, hey, I'm going to bring it back around where your family and friends can say, hey, he has a mental disorder, so we should be able to take his guns. And the reason I say that is because when a black man stands up for his talent, now he has a mental disorder because he's demanding to be treated the way he deserves to be treated. So, Nikki, you must be crazy to demand that.
Think
That's
about
what
it.
I feel.
Think about it too. Back to my point. A lot of these guys actually have undiagnosed brain disorders. Some of them are as far as
he got a blonde mustache,
post-concussive syndrome to bipolar. So I don't think that's anything to laugh at, but I think there's something that the sport, is one of the Achilles of the sport of football is that on every single play, damn near one person is injured.
Oh, yeah. I seen a white dude get messed up on the Rams earlier. His head was bleeding.
Yeah, in my opinion, we have a lot of athletes, using their leverage and creating their leverage by being great players. When it comes to basketball, when you see, players just teaming up and going other places and becoming a happier person because they think they can win, because the ultimate object as a competitor is to win. So I agree with Ray. He does seem, calling the coach a cracker and just acting out of character is just, things. It's a lot of mental issues right there. You know,
You don't know what happened though in that situation. I know
I
on the
don't,
surface,
and I did not pass judgment either.
Right.
I'm just making a statement.
And that's the key. I mean, I think Jaya, you made some statements. I'm gonna let you finish, Wes. You know, but I don't think he's defending his talent. I think he's already been paid very well for his talent.
But it's more about treatment.
Yeah, but
well.
I think he was being treated better than any other player would have gotten fucking cut immediately.
Absolutely.
All right, so I think that they went out of their way multiple times to service him. They backed him, you know, in terms of just imagine if any regular player said, "Nah, I want to play with my old helmet."
Yeah, the whole helmet thing was
It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
you know.
And
So
when it comes to being mistreated, you know, you feel a certain way when you have established, you know, such a great rapport or a great style of play, you know, an incredible level of talent. I just believe that he was unhappy, you know, and I believe that everybody deserves to be happy and move towards, you know, creating a happier being in themselves. So I would never pass judgment on what happened, this happened, because I don't know. None of us do. But my whole point is I think that, you know, he'll excel better there just because his mental seems, you know, a little more happier. So
Peace and love.
Well, we're going to wait and see. I'm going to be watching football this season. We'll see what happens with AB. But tonight, we're going to get into something a little controversial. We're going to talk about homosexuality and the agenda and how it's pushed on us as a society. Hopefully you'll learn something from us. And I don't feel it's going to be a homophobic discussion, y'all. So don't people start tripping and getting ready to start writing stuff. But there is a certain thing, and it came up from one of our group texts, and it's involving the ESPN, the magazine, the body issue. Just some stuff that we saw in there. So stick with us because we're definitely going to dive into it. But first, y'all, I wanted to talk about this. Growing up here in L.A., everybody want to go to the clubs. Everybody want to be in Hollywood. But, you know, I saw something on Twitter where black people are talking about they getting discriminated against a lot in the clubs. And C-Note, I wanted to talk to you about that because, you know, you and I probably both roam in those circles a lot and deal with the Hollywood crowd and stuff like that. What's been your experience as far as trying to go to clubs in Hollywood?
Well, you know, when I first moved down here, I moved to Hollywood, and that was back in 2007. And I think that was like the scene of like where all the, you know, hot clubs were. And I figured like, you know, I feel like they had different nights. They had Black Night where it was more of a black crowd, you know, that would go to the club. There was, you know, maybe a Asian night, a white night, you know, that's just how, you know, we classify them down. But I think, yes, I definitely have experienced discrimination when I went to the wrong area on the wrong night.
Right. Because
it's just like, okay, this is this kind of crowd tonight. Come back Sunday when we kind of more so cater to you.
Chocolate Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, and I think that's just the club owners trying to, you know, entertain their promotion for that night.
But the funny thing about it is the promotion for that night, especially nowadays, is hip hop.
Yeah.
It's our culture.
And that's the ironic thing. That's the ironic thing. They don't want us coming into clubs or anything, but they gonna do all our dances, the nay and everything like that, and play our music, and without our black asses in the club. You know what I'm saying?
The nay was definitely in 07.
Nay, whatever. Shout out to dance.
it's actually still relevant.
Still doing the
Thank you. Yeah, when the last time you been to a club, nigga?
All right. I'm in the Strata Fitness Club's Seven Dizzles of Whizzle. You guys,
But
if you're looking for a great gym, #1 private training facility in the world,
they're not doing the nay in there. They're doing the Michael Jackson and shit.
StrataFitness.com.
No, but to hit C-No's point, man, it's very funny that, you know, when you live out here, our clubs, man, they're pretty extreme with having a line full of black people and then telling them that they want them to come in and pay like $10,000 for a table, and you see people piecing up and doing it, and it's like, God damn, $10,000 for a table?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is the point of telling somebody to pay $10,000 for a table to come into a club? And it's really fucked up because the simple fact, even the black clubs that we have, they don't do you like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they want everybody to come in, have a good time, and you know, and enjoy themselves. But to tell somebody, all right, we want you to pay $10,000 for a table, and there's people that are paying it, then they mess around and leave them outside. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but why do we feel like we even have to go to Hollywood, to the black club? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Hollywood, we can't act like it's not Hollywood. Like, it is popping. It's, you know, celebrities. It's what people want to be. Let's be clear. But I know when I brought this to the group, it was more so about black women, and that men, it's all about whether you can pay. It's not like they standing out there, oh, you're a cute guy, you can come in. It's like, you know.
But you'd be surprised that happens.
I mean, I'm sure that happens some, but it's like, men, we expect to pay when we go. You know, we're buying drinks, we're paying covers, we expect that. Whereas black women, they're the ones that are really out there just getting looked over, passed over.
Shout out to the black women.
And why do you say that?
Well, I just think there's this thing for like the African woman. And now that we have, and what DJ Artistic brought to the table, DJing in the clubs, was that it changed a lot more with bottle culture. With the bottle, and some of these clubs are just bottles only. Because if you only have 20 tables, but you can sell each of them minimum 5,000 and make 100,000 for the night, then it's easier than having 1,000-person club, you know. And that's what's going on with that bottle culture. Now it becomes even much more exclusive for the general line, because that's what we're talking about typically, is the general line, not necessarily the VIP line. And it's just that, you know, that racially ambiguous look is what's out there, or that white girl look is what's out there. Yeah. And just the brown-skinned black woman, the more African-featured black women is the least appreciated. And, you know, I think we as black men play a part in that, because you see us all the time, a bunch of things, tattoos on their face, dreadlocks, and all the women in their section is these racially ambiguous, Latina, Persian, white, whatever, anything but black women.
Absolutely. And I'm going to piggyback off that. I think it's the perception of what beautiful or exotic is. And I think, you know, it even traces back to what we see on TV, music videos. You know, there's typically, you know, females with a lighter skin tone or curly hair or, you know, and, you know, when going to these clubs, I feel like, you know, if you hit that model, like, you know, looking like a Kardashian or, you know, racially ambiguous, like Jai said, you fit the mold and, you know, you're accepted. Whereas, you know, we have African sisters that are very exotic looking too, but because they don't fit that stereotypical mold that you may see on TV or on the reality show or in the video, they get discriminated against.
Oh yeah, but it's not just in the clubs; it's in the strip clubs too. They doing it in the strip clubs. They don't. It's if a girl's a little bit, if she's even my complexion, they won't let her dance during the like busiest hours.
I don't know anything about that because I don't frequent.
Well, it depends. It depends. I mean, are you saying?
James had to protest?
I've literally talked to a young lady before.
Is this at a black-owned strip club or is it a white-owned strip club?
It was at a black-owned strip club.
What's a black-owned strip club in L.A.?
This was in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Which one?
Girl Collection.
Floyd's.
Okay, owned by Floyd Mayweather.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The young lady is the best dancer in the place.
What's her name?
I'm talking about when I mean the best dancer.
What's she go by?
I mean, she's one of the best dancers as far as like the things that she can do, as far as like pole tricks, and you know, she's amazing to watch.
Ballet
and she's
she like Dominique Dawes on the pose,
and she's literally the best dancer in there. Okay. And she's told me herself that like if you look on like Floyd's Instagram himself, okay, she's not on none of those pictures. Okay, but the ones that he has on there are like the lighter skinned girls, like the Persians or the Armenians or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and let's be clear, it's not even just like it's also, racial or, skin tones or hair or anything. Like, it's also like almost body shaming too. Cause ain't no fat girls getting in the club either. You know what I'm saying? I remember like years back, I tried to, take some of my homegirls that are, slightly overweight from Oakland. Shout out to the town. Mm-hmm. And, the promoter straight up told me, man, no big girls tonight, man. Nah, no big girls. Wow. And I was just like, whoa. I'm like, and it's how do you go back and tell somebody that, like, oh, you know what? Your friends will come in, but you can't come in because, you're overweight. You know what I'm saying?
I think
let me ask Jae, is that, when it comes to legal matters, is that something you can actually take to the court? Like, I was racially...
It's not racially, apparently. And overweight people are not a protected class. Okay. So racially, yes, you would have something because you're a protected class by race, religion, but overweight is not a protected class.
Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to, the idea how we influence that. Right. I mean, do we want to see big girls in there? Are you going in there to see big girls? Are you going to, shout out to my dark-skinned women, to my brown-skinned women. They are definitely understated in terms of value. They always have been, they always will be.
In this land.
But when I look around this table, how many of us have dark-skinned women or with dark-skinned women?
That's a good point.
So, I think this is something that, overall in the discussion we should consider in terms of, we can talk about society and the masses, but as far as what we particularly like and what we're going to the clubs to see, or the strip clubs to see, that's what they're discriminating against. But we're in here saying there's something wrong with it.
No, that's real.
And we also have to go and see, why are you even attracted to the Hollywood clubs versus, like the Savoy clubs, the black-owned clubs. I'm a fan of creating my own experience at the end of the day. It's like, I wouldn't just, if I'm going to Hollywood, I already know what's accepted. If I go to Melrose and shop in, Gucci or whatever, which I have never done, but
it's not a Gucci store.
It's not on Melrose.
I already know that I'm gonna be looked at a certain way as a black man going into them shops. It's not. It's the Hollywood rodeo. It's called Hollywood for a reason. They gonna act Hollywood on your ass,
right?
And my experience in the club, I've watched art culture, shoot up the club in Hollywood. I watched black people get into fights. So a lot of this is, in the result of those, actions.
But I think that when that all came about is like growing up in LA, man, everybody remember when we hit around 15, 16, we was going to these clubs that was 18 and under. You would wear Chuck Taylor. Right. Some people were, you had the guys who wore the all white Chucks with the red shoelaces, or the all white Chucks with the blue shoelace, whatever, depending on what your side represented. But I know for sure they started changing to where you could only wear dress shoes or Timberlands.
Right? Yeah.
But I don't think that changed anything. That niggas was getting stumped out in Timberlands after that.
Right.
And to piggyback off that, to go back to James's point, why are they charging brothers $10,000 to get in the club? Well, shit, if you got $10,000, you ain't gonna be fighting in here. You know what I'm saying? You got some money.
And two, I was gonna also say, the most fun I've ever had in a club in Los Angeles was like this Jamaican spot that I went to, and it was jamming like the whole night. We were dancing, and now people don't dance anymore when they go to clubs. So it's like, what are you going to club for?
Well, first of all, you went to that club at 4 a.m. That's when it started. And second, the Jamaican club started. They literally started at 4 a.m.
Well, this is what I'll say to our listeners.
People just want somewhere to be, at peace. I want a safe environment when I go out. I don't care what.
And big girls need love too. Shout out to my 260s.
The wings at the townhouse are amazing. So if you're trying to go out, dance, listen to some good music, and not be discriminated against, go to the townhouse. They got good wings. Plus, I don't know if y'all know this, but like, downtown is popping too.
Oh yeah,
whole other
just
thing.
Don't go out and support these Hollywood clubs. Go downtown, go in the hood, go wherever. Shout out to Savoy.
Shout out to Sayers. If you want live music, if you want to enjoy yourself, if you don't want to be discriminated against, if they don't know you, it's just going to be about $10. But they get you right in there.
And that's in Hollywood for our
come
listeners.
See us. We'll be right there. James will be right there at the bar.
Posted up like a statue.
Okay? Drinking a little wine.
I'll be spending my money.
Let me ask Wes this question. What keeps you still going to Hollywood?
I will answer that, but I mean, we actually look at it as a networking experience nowadays. I know a lot of artists that they don't like to stay in a club, but sometimes they go to the club just to network, just to hear what's popping, just to see what people moving to, and then they up out of there. I know now the club has become more than just somewhere you go to dance and meet someone. It's more now like people actually handle business at clubs. And there's been several times that, I've gone out and exchanged numbers or contacts with somebody who became a potential business for me. So I think that's basically what we're talking about here in LA, because everybody's aspiring something, So,
and just to piggyback
it's
off
a social club nowadays.
Piggyback off what Jason said. I mean, my reasoning for going to Hollywood clubs. Well, I've been staying in Hollywood for like the last 10 years, so it's close. A lot of different options, and when I get drunk, I don't have that far to drive home or Uber home. So,
and I will say the Lakers
convenience factor.
The Laker game is the best club in town.
Facts.
And if you really want to go to have a good experience, see some guys, some of the best basketball players play.
Okay.
Go to a Laker.
Well,
Let's move on to our main topic for tonight, which is we want to talk about the push or the acceptance for perceived acceptance of homosexuality in our culture. And I want to turn to my brother Jason because, like I said earlier, a lot of topics we come up with are just stuff that, we randomly talk about.
Hey, let's cut to the chase.
Do it.
Chris Paul had his ass out. And I sent it to the group. I said, yo, the bro got his whole ass out. Should we be talking about how much of a culture, how much of a push or an agenda push it has been to feminize our culture now? I feel like when I take my son school shopping, it's a lot of pink stuff in his section. At Nike, or if I'm going like to the department store, now you see a lot of boy shoes with like pink in them, and then boy clothes with like pink in them, and even in with my daughter, it's a lot of baggy clothes, in her section. So my whole thing is how this all links and merges. I feel like there's definitely a push to feminize our culture, and I think it's starting to attack, the community in which we dwell in the most, in more so of a position of here, you got to accept this.
Well, let me ask you something, Jason. Like, is being nude, how does that directly relate to homosexuality?
Well, let's clarify something real fast because Jason's saying feminize. Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
Are we saying feminize, or is it a homosexual agenda you feel, Jason?
I feel like the entire campaign is definitely has its feminine points to it.
And campaign meaning like the spread?
Like when somebody's holding a basketball and their ass is showing and they're looking back at you.
How's he looking back?
I didn't get
His eyes was looking at you.
in his mind.
I didn't think he was looking at me.
So Jason felt a certain kind of way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
bro, this the bro. Like, why
Yeah.
you looking at me like that, bro?
Go back to your original.
Well, I guess my question, so Chris Paul, ass out, looking back at you, like that directly connected to homophobia. Homosexuality with you.
Ooh, he's calling you homophobic.
Well, no. Excuse me. I corrected myself. That directly, you saw immediate connection to homosexuality with him doing that.
And you didn't?
When Chris Paul was looking at you with
Yes or
sweat
no?
going down the crack of his ass, you thought it not. Nah, but seriously, nah.
Now, I don't want to
serious
take it out of context because at the same time, Chris is our brother, and we do got a lot of love for him. And not to single him out, but I do feel like that this is a point in time where you are starting to see more of a push, and whether that's in sports or if it's in a lot of more now, athletes are going to Fashion Week and they're wearing tighter clothes. You're starting to see the guys, have dresses on and things like that. I don't think. I mean, if you got common sense, you could see it. Like,
So just to talk about those couple points you just made. I didn't feel like, the homophobic agenda was getting pushed on me when I looked at that spread. Now, could I have gone without seeing it? Yeah. But I didn't feel like it was, something being pushed on me because, I don't know, I guess I could, someone's body could be looked as an art form. And if they're proud of that and, they're welcome to flaunt that. Also, tight clothes. Niggas was wearing a lot of tight clothes, 70s, 80s, fishnets, so let's not act like tight clothes is just like happening now. Like tight clothes have been happening for a very long time. You go out to Europe, it's a lot of tight fitting, clothes, man bags.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I want to bring attention to. One of the biggest costumes during Halloween, if you guys get an opportunity to go down Hollywood Boulevard, you'll see a lot of people in the pharaoh costume, and I think that this is something that, as us calling ourselves African Americans, we have to understand that it really started with our people. You did have a lot of pharaohs who dressed up with makeup on, and they had costumes. You did have a lot of artwork that's in ancient Egypt that many scholars don't talk about. That's homosexual. So I don't necessarily have anything against homosexuals. I just feel like that there's definitely a push to make people more feminine in our culture.
And I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that, but I'm also just, challenging just a couple of things that you said, because even the color pink, do you think that men shouldn't wear pink? Do you feel like, wearing pink is that's being feminine?
Well, I can speak for Jason when I say my mom didn't allow us to wear pink, but she did allow us to wear salmon. So
That's pink.
I look good in
You
both.
wore pink.
there is a difference, but I think, this topic is kind of interesting because I definitely see that the world is leaning towards demasculinating society, just making sure that the masculinity is toned down and people are kind of getting to that baseline where it's good to be metro, even especially models. Models have a strong jaw these days, and you can't tell if they're a man or a woman, so that they can wear anything. I mean, even mannequins. It's kind of interesting. So I think we're getting to that point where it's getting interesting.
Well, in preparation for this, you got something you really want to say?
Yeah, I just want to say, and let's not be confused. Most of the people who run these big old industries, when it comes to entertainment, the people who are at the top of entertainment are homosexuals.
Absolutely.
Homosexual. I mean, Gianni Versace said that he fell in love with Tupac's body and wanted him in his fashion show. And I think that's, that goes to show you that when it comes to us, our people, what is it that makes us say, okay, I'm going to do this when, Tupac was one of the biggest rappers at the world. Chris Paul, he's obviously well known and he's paid. Why even decide now, okay, I'm going to do this?
But what's so wrong with it? I've yet to hear what's so wrong with it.
This is what I want to point out. In preparation, did a little research. And it came up in Rome, and a lot of people have called America the modern day Rome. And as we know, homosexuality was prevalent in Rome. But the way they thought about sexuality, there were like two types. There were the masculine, dominant, and aggressive. And there were the feminine, submissive, and the passive. And regardless of who you was having sex with, as long as you were still the masculine, dominant, aggressive one, you didn't lose any status in that society as being a freeborn man. And so that's the mindset that I think we're getting to in our current society. Now, what's negative about that, some would say, read the rest of the story of Rome and see how they fell. Mm-hmm. And then we have the stories of Sodom and Gomorrah, which are biblical, and some others where, which is why I can't be mad at, strictly religious people that say, I don't want that, because the other examples in history led to the destruction of society, and I like my society. And so I think that's where it comes from. As far as me, my personal views, I understand the difference between homosexual individuals, gay people, and gay culture. And gay culture which not all homosexual people subscribe to, is still a culture ran by white men, which is a very, I want to dominate culture. That's what white men do. They haven't went anywhere and just fit in with people.
Right.
Well,
and so that's what we have to understand.
I think it's also ran by everybody. I don't want to just point out white people.
But who runs the LGBTQ and promotes that and puts all the signs up on the billboards, those are mainly white men running that. And within the gay community,
You gotta be.
black men and black people are not in that real LGBTQ struggle. There's a whole separate black pride that takes place because of the racism within the gay community.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's heavy. That's crazy what you were talking about. It's almost, when we talk about the dominant and the submissive in the sexual relationship, it's almost like that jail prison mentality where it's like, in prison or in jail, I can have sex with a man, but I ain't gay because I'm in prison and I'm in jail.
Because I'm penetrating him.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy. What were you going to say, James?
No, to agree with Jai. It's definitely, like he said, it has to be like a white culture type of thing. When you think about gay culture and you think about, look at West Hollywood, the streets are rainbow. I mean,
it's the only
you know
suffrage
what I'm saying?
movement
Like-
with white men in this nation's history. All women's suffrage,
Right.
black people, Latinos. This is the only one that got white men in it.
Right.
And that's something that makes it unique, and also why we see more advances for this movement than any other movement. Everybody else took decades and hundreds of years. This one is moving pretty rapid since it became to the forefront. I'll say since Will and Grace got on the air.
Well, we gotta stop being so sensitive about the idea of what is and what's not. I think a lot of us have perspectives that are ignorant, man, and we start to create things in our mind that so-called looks gay or that seems gay. Even us talking about the color pink or even the rainbow. We can't get away from where the rainbow came from. It's a biblical thing, okay? And if you don't know, there's millions of places in the Word of God that talks about the rainbow, but the best place is in the book of Revelations, where it talks about pretty much Jesus Christ coming back, having a rainbow around his head. Now, the way that it's used in terms of common day to represent the gay culture, to me, is like the weirdest thing in the world. Just because they took a symbol and used it to represent themselves doesn't detract from what it really is and what it should really mean. So I think we got to get to the point, man, where we look at people as they are, and however they desire to be, they desire to be.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to see Collins when he was saying, is pink? Do we look at pink a certain way and to blue? But everybody's comes from a foundation and is a product of their environment. And like when you go to baby showers, the blue is okay, it's a boy. The pink is for a girl. It's not really a secret as far as what color identifies with the gender. But I wanted to go back to the fine line. When you see males, NBA athletes going to NBA games with a purse, and they show that on TV. They make it, if you notice, they didn't used to do this like in the 90s to show what the NBA players are wearing, but they're doing that now, and they're wearing tight clothes. All of the NBA players pretty much have purses or clutches, and that's not for us to judge, but where do you see a line where you looked at that and say, well, wow, is that gay, or should I accept this, or do you being a father now,
Yeah, I could look at it and say it's like more like metrosexual, you know what I'm saying? But to my point earlier, like cats in Europe been doing those little man bags and everything for years, and and
majority of them homosexuals are.
I don't know what the preference is. Yeah. But like I've seen a lot of straight like Europeans, like with the tight jeans and man bags, like That's how they rock.
I'm going to say that they're not gay. That's a part of their culture.
That's a part of their culture. And if anything, we adapt a lot of the fashion culture from Europe, Italy. You know what I'm saying? The Gucci, the Prada, like all that stuff is from there. So if anything, it's just traveling west, and we're just getting picked up on it.
Not just traveling west; it's coming back. If you think about the way these cats dress now, they remind you of how people dressed in the 70s.
70s,
fashion,
80s.
Starting to trend back. It goes back around. Like, we had the 90s, we had the 80s. Like, 90s had their movement, where they started a whole new movement with, like, the baggy clothes and things like that. And then when it went to the
gangster.
Do you think that will return?
Absolutely.
And so
it's starting to return.
What I would like to ask the panel is, what are we going to do about it? Because I feel like there's a responsibility that we have. I wasn't born in the 70s, nor the 60s, nor the 40s.
Well, you're born in the 80s where niggas was wearing fishnet.
I was born in the 80s. I was born in the 80s, and now at this point, 34 years old, I have the ability to tell my kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What's going to benefit them in terms of how they carry themselves going forward?
I think it all relates to protecting and serving. And, I don't want to raise any kids or nieces or nephews not to be able to defend their wife or their loved ones. I see a lot of this movement being pushed on to people, and it's kind of softening the brother up. It's a big movement. It's demasculating the black male.
Okay.
Specifically, and when you look at it that way, I think it's a very serious issue, because it's like,
once you demasculate it, then you de-weaponize, and then once you de-weaponize, you can take over a nation. Actually, I want to bring light to this. There was a study done by Tyrone Hayes at the University of California, Berkeley, which he did a study on frogs. And he did basically a study on frogs where they basically had they had male frogs and female frogs. And they basically was able to use this product called atrazine, which is a pesticide that they have in a lot of foods, they have in a lot of agriculture. And this pesticide itself lowered the testosterone of these frogs all the way down to 10%, which the frogs began to have characteristics. The male frogs had characteristics like female frogs. This is something that if we don't understand, we'll be going to Popeye's chicken, going to get chicken sandwiches. We'll be just going buying all these GMO foods, not knowing how we'll be smoking this inorganic weed, not knowing how it's actually affecting us. You see so many guys walking around here who are feminized. I see it from a body and health nutrition standpoint, because if somebody's eating so much soy, they're obviously going to start growing boobs. Somebody starts growing boobs, they're obviously going to have more of a feminized manner. They may not even be able to have kids. This thing is huge. And then the women aren't able to have kids as well, or get pregnant, because they may be filled up with testosterone. So it's working back and forth to, I feel like it's always going to be a push to depopulate the world. Those are Bill Gates' words, by the way. He actually said that in an announcement that he made. But I feel like if we don't do anything about it, I feel we're just basically letting ourselves kind of sell out to I guess it's this what we call conformity, All
right, so I kind of want to focus on, what we've been talking about at hand, because I've heard you say, posing nude, that was like pushing the agenda of homosexuality. Finding pink, that's also pushing homosexuality. Thing is,
I'm sorry, I never used the word homosexual. I just said it's feminizing our culture.
Okay, feminizing our culture.
Shout out to anybody who's homosexual. I definitely got love for you. But when it comes to feminizing our culture, that's the point I'm hitting on.
Copy that. So feminizing our culture being that, people are posing nude. So it's almost kind of feels like, we need to follow these guidelines almost like, hey, we need to stay away from wearing pink because that's feminizing our culture. We need to, not be nude. That's feminizing our culture. My thing is that, I like living outside the box. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's like, you know, wearing some pink or hold on.
Shout out to my wife. I like living in the box myself.
Okay. Copy that. I got a wife too. But I guess be careful when stating like, you know, what's pushing feminine on the culture, because, you know, the way you're sounding is not too different from an old white man, you know, racial white man that grew up in the 50s, 60s, saying that, oh, you know, niggas are getting jobs now. They're moving to this side of the neighborhood. They're doing this now. We need to protect us to make sure we, you know, stay in control of this nation and our people. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like these caveman like mentality of what's kind of like been set and for you to, you know, to follow. And I mean, just what you speaking.
And that's only if you interpret my words as homosexual. And like I said, I got love for homosexuals. This is about feminizing our culture. I just gave you a study by Tyrone Hayes. You can choose to ignore it, but this is a real study that a black man at Cal State Berkeley did.
I'm not saying the study is wrong or anything, or there might not. I do think there's an agenda.
You're taking feminization and homosexuality
because of what you listed,
as if they are the same thing. They're two different things.
Well, feminizing, but I'm just paying attention to the examples that you said about pink and posing nude. And you almost, you know, said like, it's almost like, do you believe Chris Paul sold out by posing nude?
Yeah, of course he sold out. Shout out to Chris Paul.
I disagree. I disagree.
Based on what?
Based on you were born in this world naked.
So you want to see more naked butts?
Not necessarily. That's not for me.
You don't have to look at it.
You don't have to look. But if that's his decision, just like people of homosexuality, if that's their decision to be with a man, that's their decision. They have the freedom to do that.
Do you want?
But that's not going to influence like what how I operate my life or anything, or
So would you take a picture like that yourself?
Possibly.
Okay. For what price?
Probably not with my ass out, but like, you know what I'm saying?
You said possibly. We're talking about
No, I'm talking about like posing nude.
Okay, so
possibly.
For what price?
It don't matter. He said
so you would do it for free?
I didn't say I would do it for free.
Okay. How much would they have to pay? What I'm trying to get at is
use me as an example. I would do it for free.
Okay, cool. So what I'm trying to get at is I'm not really tripping off of the fact that y'all have personal choices that y'all want to make. At the end of the day, you guys both aren't as influential as Chris Paul. So I don't necessarily take Chris taking a picture with his clothes off. If he's sharing that with his wife and his and between them two, that's fine. That's all fine and dandy. So as you, Mike, but there is a price that comes associated with selling your soul. I don't care if I'm friends with you.
Sold to soul though.
Yeah, like here's the thing. There's a meme. There's a meme on Instagram.
Let me just land real quick. I don't think that you guys are really understanding where I'm going with this, because if you guys don't see that, for us raising black men, that there's definitely an agenda to break down their masculinity.
Absolutely.
This has nothing to do. I'm not raising nobody to not believe and be strong about who they are. But as I'm raising a man who would like to procreate on this planet, I'm not, that's my intention, because that's what my value system is.
And that's all well and good. And like I said, maybe you didn't hear me when I said, maybe you didn't hear me when I said.
This is where I'm going to land at.
Oh my God.
What I'm saying is that if that's the agenda to defeminize our black men, then obviously that's where I have to look at it and say, what's the point here? What are we doing?
Jason, let's see get in there.
Yeah, because I think we're missing each other, because I agree with you that I believe there is an agenda, but I'm listing what you spoke to in this topic tonight, brother, and you raised the fact.
I didn't say that men couldn't wear pink. I said that when I go and shop with my son and there's pink clothes.
But you also said that Chris Paul sold out by posing nude. There's a meme on Instagram of Faison Love.
Right.
He got his whole fat ass out looking at some water. And people, click on that. I forgot what the wording was, whatever. But people, click on that like, why you waiting for the shower to warm up or something like that. And it's a meme. Not one time did I look at that and be like, oh, he's pushing homosexuality. If anything was like funny, like look at Faison fat ass out there.
Of course he's.
But was that for a company or ad, or did he do that on free will? Because that's a different.
It was from a movie.
But he's also a comedian.
Yeah, he's also a comedian.
I think we have to pay attention to the fine line of exposure of who we're talking about, what kind of influence they have, and the overall perception versus reality versus the truth of what's really going on. And sitting here listening to you brothers talk about this topic really raises, a couple questions for me. I am a father. I am raising a king. And that young man needs to be very masculine to perform his duty. However, he needs to understand perspective. Perspective is the thing that's going to carry him over into the ability to be a leader and not just a manager in this world. And in order to be a leader, you have to understand that there are perspectives that can shape your values without you knowing it if you allow certain things to influence you continuously. In this magazine, ESPN magazine, when I looked at the picture that Jason sent to the group, I don't know why the fuck he sent it to us. It was so funny just to wake up to the text and see the picture. However, the first thing I thought to myself was why would he, Chris Paul, do this? The same thing Jason thought. Because he is someone who was, very well off as far as financially, and I don't know what his agenda was. If it's to celebrate his body, is it an opportunity to market something? I didn't know. However, the questions that Jason posed kind of shed light to my own personal biases in terms of how I look at people and how people look at me, which is to C-Note's point, because I told both of these brothers I agree with both of their points. I think there are contrasts. We as a people need to be careful how we look at things. We as a people also need to be careful about how things are perceived. And we as a people also need to dig for the truth so that we know where to stand on these topics.
Right. Because my opinion on it, I don't think he sold out. I think it was a bit strange for him to do that. If anybody that I think sold out, I think would more so be DeAndre Jordan wearing a dress in the State Farm commercial. To me, that was a direct version of selling out, because you don't need to wear a dress as an NBA star to sell no fucking insurance.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about coming after our masculinity, I think you had the biggest nigga in the NBA wearing a dress in an insurance commercial, not a guy that's half naked in a magazine where they showcase people's body anyway.
He was full naked, bro.
Okay, well, whatever the case may be, he was born that way.
Yeah.
And when it comes,
you know what I'm saying? And the magazine is about your body.
Did he get a check for it?
That's beside the point. That's beside the point. The point is the object of the ESPN body magazine is to celebrate the body in its natural form. And from what I'm hearing from you, Jason, is you think that he sold out by doing that.
Whatever the check said, it definitely said to Chris Paul. Whatever that amount was, it definitely sold that.
What I want to say
that's a sell, if you ask me.
What I want to say is when we talk about, first of all, I don't think he sold out because I don't think he did it for the money. Specifically, I think when you sell out, you do things for the money, and you don't have that level of integrity to say no, at that point, so anything you do for the money that you wouldn't do if they weren't paying you that, I believe that's selling out. And I believe that, that's why we are not for sale, because you can't buy us to do anything. You can't pay us to do anything, or, to expose my body or to expose, our children's bodies like that or anything. We have integrity, and that's what we're built on. So
I don't know if it's I'd have to disagree that it's a lack of integrity. I think you have to look at what
lack of character.
I don't know if it's a lack of character either. I think you have to look at the point is, and the point is to celebrate the body.
Well, we don't know that.
And that's the thing.
That was my whole point. I mean, I looked at Chris Paul on that magazine, and I know that ESPN desires to celebrate the body by showing athletes. We all know that. However, Chris Paul is not a normal, average athlete. All right. He is an icon in the sport. All right. And he is 100% in feminine positions. I don't give a fuck what any of you guys say.
No, that's the point. I think that's the point.
100% see him in feminine positions. Not just purely, which some of the shots are athletic positions, basketball athletic positions. However, the picture that Jason sent us was a feminine position.
That's correct.
Something that is not usual for a man to be in, which, hey, I don't know if he approved the picture. I don't know how that came about. I don't know his particular agenda, but I'm just addressing what I saw in terms of what Jason sent us.
Which is why I think it's important to just delineate between the effeminization of black men and promoting homosexual culture. I do believe there's overlap, but I do think there is a difference because overall, when I looked up those terms, feminine goes more with submissive. And so the overall goal is to get the black man to submit. And if we got to make you feminine to do that, then that's what it is.
Facts.
And I do think your point on pointing out, because remember, Buddy Marshawn Lynch did the issue as well, but the pictures he was in didn't look the same way that this Chris Paul picture looked.
Go ahead, James.
And I think Ray made a good point. We really don't know if he authorized those pictures or not.
Yeah.
So it's like we're speaking on this topic, and we don't know. We have no proof
sure he did.
that Chris Paul said, "I want that one for the cover."
I know for sure. I know for sure.
I'm gonna say this.
Okay, well, hold on.
It was on his IG, bro.
Well, that's cool.
He put it out there.
But you don't know if he runs his IG though.
Yes, I do. Personally, I know. The reason why I say he didn't sell out is because I think that he wanted to do it. I think he has the choice. He has the choice to do it.
Wes, we've all seen pictures.
That photographer
because a photographer,
that's probably what it was.
When a photographer takes pictures, they take thousands of pictures.
Yeah.
So it may be they may picked out. We're gonna use this one and we're gonna use that one, and then all of a sudden they could have just flipped that one and said we want to use this one.
I got to stop you right there, bro, because I've worked with a lot of people, and if they don't want to do shit, they ain't gonna do it. They'll tell you flat out, nah, I'm not gonna do that one.
They'll tell you to not put that out.
I'm not answering that question.
Right. I'm not going to do that pose. That pose don't look right.
But could it look different to him before it got published? Can we say that?
No, you can't say that because, listen, they sit there and they look at all those different photos, and Chris or whoever, anybody in that magazine looked and went, ooh, no. I mean, look, I don't want to bring this up, but I mean, when Kobe took those pictures back in the day for LA Magazine, and they had all that white shit on it, and like even Kobe said, I don't know what I was thinking then. Yeah. Sometimes you have a lapse in your mind, and I want to say, Chris had a lapse in his mind because he probably could have said that pose is not for me.
So let me ask you guys a question: is there a difference between what Tyler Perry is doing now in a dress
I don't like that.
versus the idea of what Martin did?
Jamie Foxx.
But you guys have already answered that question because you said Faison is comic. So we gonna say that's comedy, that they're acting, they're trying to entertain you. So I think there's a difference.
I bring up Tyler Perry because it's highly speculated that he is homosexual. So there is a difference. Whereas Chris Paul has a wife and has a family.
Chris Bosh does too.
So what are you saying about Chris Bosh?
I don't know what he's saying.
I will say this without all the speculation. I have a few family members who are homosexual, but they're very masculine. I don't get it confused, bro. My cousins will fight you. They'll slap the shit out of you. They'll probably do some karate on you. So just because you homosexual don't mean you soft.
Don't mean you effeminate, and that's the.
It don't mean you feminine. That's why the distinction is there.
Yeah,
I don't necessarily think that all the other speculations are true or false. I just know for sure. To hit on Ray's point, I guess I made this point earlier, bro. He was looking back at you with his ass cheeks out. That's a feminine prose, bro.
Yeah.
saying that.
Here's the thing.
Look, Chris, when I tell you, if I see you, I'm gonna say the same thing, man.
Them ass cheeks really
Jay
got
made a
you,
good
dog.
point, though,
Listen. I have to agree. You know what I mean? Like with the pose, like it was super suspect. I said that at the way beginning of the conversation. Like
That's out.
I said at the beginning of the conversation that like I could have done without looking at it. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with you. You know, you and Ray. Like, it was a feminine pose. I'm more so harping on the fact that if you decide to show your body, that's totally on you. I don't think that's selling out. I don't think if you should be proud of your body, whether you're fat, you're short, you're tall, you're lean. Like bodies have been looked at as a artistic form
for years.
For the beginning of time. You see all these statues. You know what I'm saying? There's women and men that paint nude artists. And art. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it from that point of view. But maybe Chris Paul. He wanted to show off his ass, and he got your attention. He totally got your attention.
Wes, get in there for a moment.
Yeah, I just want to bring it full circle. All of us agree, there's obviously is an agenda, and back to James' point, because when I look at, TV these days, the entertainment, it's like overly, it's like being pushed on us a little bit too much. Like, I don't even see men and women kissing each other on TV no more. Mm-hmm. Like, I do not see men and women kissing each other like it used to be. I don't see no intimacy. I don't see it. It's kind of like they're pushing more of, and that's what I have a problem with. And then you have like toxic masculinity, where people would just say they just don't disagree with the lifestyle. They name that person toxic, which basically means they're not applying it to their lives. Saying they're not living in that. And the toxic masculinity was coined by Shepard Bliss, and he's a homosexual being. So that just kind of like shows you how the whole narrative is changing. But like James said, I don't even feel like seeing the men and women, no more on TV, really.
You got to go to Pornhub.com if you want to see
it's
that
crazy,
shit, bro.
Well, I'm just, this is going to be my last point for the evening. And, because I see a lot of more, homosexual scenes on television as well. And, and I think it's even a fine line what's being pushed or what's creating as being like accepting now, the time and place that we live in. Homosexuality in the black community, that's frowned on. That gets no place. So what happens to, I'll use Moonlight, a motion picture that, won the Academy Award. Like, it showed the suffering of a person growing up, battling his sexuality, wanting to kill himself because he felt these things for another man. And I believe in some entertainment, there's more so making it more aware and more acceptable by showing you, because these are real situations, these are real people feeling this way, and giving them a platform to say, hey, this is okay, we're in a different time, and it's more accepting.
I think at the end of the day, when we look at the homosexual community, they're looking for acceptance. And when you say, I see this on TV, it's no different from us as African Americans saying we want to see more black love on TV. They want to see more homosexual love on TV. Is there anything wrong with that? I don't think so, because it's a group that's looking for acceptance. I do think that we did a great job tonight on educating our listeners, because there is a difference between homosexuality and feminization. And I think that's what everyone should take away from tonight is you could be homosexual and you could be a masculine homosexual. You could be feminine. So I think the main thing that we want to talk about is equality. And so with that said, I want to give my man Jaye the busted minute.
Oh, well,
and I want you to take us out, homie, on the busted minute.
Well, thank you, man. And first, I just want to point out a lot of people make the false equivalency between race and sexual orientation. So I understand that position. It's just like blacks want to see more representation, but it is a significant difference. But I also want to point out in the black community, I feel like we're not so much homophobic. We don't like it for a number of reasons. I do believe people are born that way, and I believe our community accepts people the way they are born. That's what I see. We all have those feminine cousins, and they've always been that way. This isn't somebody that went to prison and got turned that way.
That antrazine, brother. That antrazine.
It might be, but my point is that's what I'm okay with. It's the promotion of a specific agenda, and then when you know who's behind that agenda, once again, this is white men behind the LGBTQ agenda. And when it comes to the effeminization of black men, we do need to be cognizant of that, because that is, I think, what leads us to be subdued and submissive, and we need men who are going to be masculine and who are going to act. So that's my busted minute.
At the end of the day, parking is for validation, and I know you want to say something because I see you. But tune in to We Not For Sale After Dark to hear James talk about, because y'all didn't see this, but James went crazy when Jair said we were born that way. So we're going to put that shit on Instagram, because they about to go at it, because at the end of the day, we not for sale.
DM us.
Right.